This is the Disturbing the Peace podcast with your hosts, Justin Lanero and Reuben Stanford.
Episode 9 here. Rube, what's good, man?
Everything is love.
Yeah, hell yeah. I just got back from an AA meeting trying to get better day to day, one day at a time, you know. Sometimes it's a moment at a time, Rube, you know what I'm saying? Well, you know, I'm going to tell you this real quick before we get going. You know what's disturbing the shit out of my peace, though? Like, it seems like more and more each day.
What's that?
Elderly drivers, man. These dinosaurs, it's called like ageism. Somebody was jumping on me the other day on social media. Ageism. It's like, yo, these old people, bro, are driving around. They could kill a family and they wouldn't even know it, like oblivious. But the registry of motor vehicles is a moneymaker, so it's tough to strip these licenses away from the elderly. But I just wanted to clear the air, man. Old people, man, piss me the fuck off. And I'm seeing more and more of them every day. Anyways.
Yeah, that's messed up. That's on the kids. The kids gotta, at some point, you gotta get pops. Gotta take pops to the side and take his. They're
defiant, you know. You've been doing something for so long. It's tough to relinquish shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So what's up with you? Anything good?
Nah, everything is cool over here. Brooklyn's, you know, the weather's still kind of gray outside. It looks like London town, but everything other than that, just ready to get back out here and you know, talk to the people, see what's going on. I really wanted to see what was up with you guys. What's up with you, Mitch?
I'm doing my thing, man. It's been a hell of a week. You know, we were talking last week about these crazy tiger moms and psycho soccer dads, and you could ask Justin. I had myself a little run-in over the weekend.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was tight, man. I mean, you know, as you know, I coach my kids' team. It was all right. I gotta tell you, man, there was some bullying going on. There was some nasty words being slung at our players, and man, I just lost it. I just couldn't believe that the adults sitting idly by, letting it happen, continued to look on and not step in to take control of their players. So
what'd you say?
I blew my top, man. I told them, I said, look, you don't know how much work these kids put in to get on the field the first game of the year. For some of these kids, it was their first game ever. You know?
Right.
And they're just, you know, heckling them, telling them that they suck, this and that. And I just looked at the coach and I said, you got to be kidding me. You run this league, and all these adults just with their arms folded, lawn chairs on the sideline, checking their phones while their kids are hurling insults at some 8-year-olds. It was uncivilized, man. Wow. I gotta tell you.
We talked about it, episode 8, man. That shit pisses me off, boy. And you were right in it, so it's funny how it worked out a few days later. But you get to see it. It really is. That's pathetic. You know, I was talking to somebody the other day, a close family member. I was telling you guys before the show started. A 5-year-old was. The mom was saying, "You can't be sick today, Johnny. You have 3 games tomorrow." A 5-year-old, man. Easton's 5. I couldn't imagine saying to my son, "You better clean up your act."
Right.
I mean, come on, man. They're like a 5-year-old's almost like a few years removed from being a baby. That's fucked up.
Nah, a 5-year-old is a baby.
Damn, bro.
Still
Mitch,
a
what
baby.
is breaking, bro?
Yeah, dude. Well, speaking of sports, your man Jay Cutler, who is almost better known now for his wife's reality TV presence than for any touchdowns he ever threw, is in the news. The guy is a family man, and he and his wife, Kristen Cavallari, have 3 beautiful kids, and they're growing beautifully, much to the credit of Kristen's dedication to breastfeeding. And Jay himself is dedicated to breastfeeding. For when her milk duct became clogged, he, as she put it, sucked harder than he ever has sucked to clear the blocked duct. Oh, that rhymed, man. Speaking of hip hop, that rhymed.
That definitely that was pretty smooth.
Spitting bars, son.
I didn't mean to. It just happens when you're a rapper. You rap. But yeah, this is an interesting thing. I mean, would you guys take matters into your own hands or between your own lips to
absolutely
save the day? Okay.
Absolutely. Nothing says I love you better than clean ducks.
But I thought you were a vegan, Reuben. What's up with this milk?
Oh, I'm not actually a vegan. I mean, you know, I'm totally against, you know, drinking cow's milk. I think that's some downright savage shit. But as far as helping my wife out, I think Jay Cutler is a better man than many. And I mean, I'm sure you enjoyed the activity, and it helps build on Jay's reputation. People thought Jay wasn't a team player. Now he can actually stand up and say, "Look, I'm a team player." So for him to get in there, help his wife out, she had clogged ducts. She was the Dairy Queen of breastfeeding at the moment. She needed to be helped out. Jay stepped in. I'm sure the Miami Dolphin fans wish that they could have said that, they hadn't seen Jay suck so hard as a quarterback. But his wife, hey, way to go, Jay. Step it up.
Jay Cutler, I mean, look, from a football outlook, the man had a rocket for an arm. I would say I would put him in the same scope as Brett Favre, but he also threw a lot of interceptions like Brett Favre. He's a good-looking guy from Vanderbilt. Looks like he's got the world by the balls at this point in time. And till death do us part, right? He happily married. I mean, you gotta keep the blood flowing, and the man did what he, when he signed up for marriage. I think this is something that a lot of people have to do.
Oh yeah, smoking Jay Cutler. I think he actually deserves a little bit more credit for being able to say, you know what, breast milk. He likes that high grade, high quality breast milk. He probably had indulged in some breast milk before. I mean, like many fathers with curiosity. You want to go straight to the tap. You want to find out what your child is going to get on and what's on reserve. I'm all for it. I think men should be definitely a little hands-on and should help. I mean, because I've seen women when they're engorged and they need to, the child isn't around, or they can't find an opportunity to release the milk. How painful that looks. Come on, Dad, step in there, help your wife out, and relieve some of the pressure. I know it's got to be better than drinking some damn cow's milk. I think the person who was the first turned down water, whoever that individual was who turned down water and decided one day to go look at a fucking cow and say, you know what, I wonder how that cow squirt tastes. That individual fucking set us on a path of destruction from that moment on. I think it's disgusting. If more men would be like Jay Cutler, we would be in a better place. The government ain't shit. They out here killing us with this damn milk, destroying our attention span. I know I'm going off on a rant, but these bastards told us for years that cow's milk was going to make us have strong bones. So I just want to say, listen, if we're going to talk about it, let's just applaud Jay Cutler for going out there, helping his wife. I'm interested in bottling the finest breast milk myself. If we can get that on the market, I'm down for that. Forget this fat-free bullshit.
Right.
If it's not almond milk or breast milk or something with coconut and food, veggie based, I don't want it.
He is a diabetic too. I can remember when he was at Vanderbilt, they used to have footage of him insert needles into himself. So maybe it has some benefits to diabetes, and also an awful teammate. He's notorious for yelling at his offensive lineman a ton while he was in Chicago, and but he's certainly marketable, and so is his wife. So good for him and Jay. Look, it's episode 9, gentlemen. We got 8 episodes underneath us. We're going to keep the ball rolling. Consistency is something the three of us strive to do each week. Bring flavor to everybody's ears. Come real, come raw, and we want everybody to sit down with us. Mitch can be reached at Strongjevity. My partner, Mr. Reuben Stanford, on Twitter at Real Sports Porn. And let's dig right into it, Rube. Look, we're going to talk about several items this week, just like every other week. And I want to talk to you first about self-care and how you perceive that. It could be looked at from a number of different things, like what do we do in our day-to-day to, whether it's physical or psychological or emotional self-care. Are you going to walk your dog? Do you go for a walk at lunchtime? Do you piss away your sick time or take a mental health day? I think that's really important. Exercise, obviously, that's something you guys are. I struggle in that department. I'll get to it eventually. There have been points in my life where I've been better than I am now. Making time with family, obviously, trying to stay positive. So, Rube, I'm going to ask you, how do you perceive self-care at this point in your life? And, is it different than it was back in the day, or is it something that you go day to day and try to improve upon?
Right. Well, a good friend of mine, who's a therapist, her name is Amy. She basically posed the idea of approaching self-help like if I was parenting my 6-year-old self. So, if you take a moment and think about would you yell at a child that is hungry? What kind of words do you use with a 6-year-old or a 5-year-old? So if you think about it, it's very difficult work to kind of be kind to yourself oftentimes, but you should monitor when you're hungry. I think that's important. I know I get, we call it hangry in my house. Daddy's hangry. Right now he needs food. If I'm cranky, you know what it looks like when you have a cranky 6-year-old. They're sleepy. Or if your 6-year-old needs a hug. So it's just basic things that I've learned to kind of incorporate. It's not easy at all. I talk to myself. I speak kind words, affirmations. I try to speak peace into my life, and uplift myself so that when my battery is running low, I still have a little reserve because I've been saying such kind words to myself. And, I've learned through therapy that I have many parts to myself. Like there literally is a 6-year-old Reuben, like a child, like version of myself that I, oftentimes am acting on. So I don't think that treating myself as a 6-year-old is only an emotional endeavor. I think sometimes I've been a bad parent to myself. I know that there are days that I just don't eat the right food, and I'm sitting around eating junk food, and I've binged on TV, and I sat there and watched Netflix for 11 hours, or sat there and played video games on the couch, and I've refused to shower. Now, those things are not healthy. That's happened in the past, and when you start learning more, I think you just do better. So I'm trying to still figure it out. As you continue to get older, sometimes people think in their 20s they're adults, in their 30s they're adults, in their 40s they're adults. You have a lot of young parts to yourself, and adulting isn't easy. So, when I think one of the biggest issues that we have as men is that men, oftentimes you'll see them that they haven't tapped into taking care of themselves, and then they throw temper tantrums, and they like to break shit. And those are examples of when men are frustrated and they just do not know how to communicate, and they haven't taken care of themselves. So how can they help take care of anyone else? So if we don't get out of our own way and be kinder to ourselves, I think we will find that, as Mitch said in a previous episode, that we run ourselves down and we just burn out.
It's interesting that you mentioned the cranky, you're hungry, crungy, or whatever it is, and that
hangry.
Yeah, it's those are triggers. As an alcoholic, I can speak on, early in recovery, they used to say, don't allow yourself to get too tired, don't allow yourself to get too hungry, because these are potential triggers to pick up a drink, and it's proven. This is scientific. So that makes a lot of sense to me. I read something interesting today, and obviously this is a sit-down show, but in preparation, try to write down 3 good things that you did each day. Sometimes, for me, I find myself on the phone a shitload. I do some football stuff outside of my full time. Right. So Twitter, you can get absorbed, and I'm not like you with Twitter, Rube. I can, you'll go out there with a machine gun, go boom, 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 and then dip. I can just kind of linger. I think sometimes we got to disconnect to reconnect.
Right. But Twitter is your world. Like, you have Twitter is clearly one of your, like, it's a vice, and it's a good outlet for you. You reach out to all the people that you that you're building relationships and connecting with. Me, I'm just like a rapid fire troll kind of fucking kind of guy that just
blocking people.
I just say my shit and then I'm out. Like, yo, I'm in and out like double dutch.
You come with some Colin Kaepernick shit, and Rube's gonna block you real fucking quick.
I'll block your ass quick too.
We've seen that shit. Developing a regular sleep routine. That shit didn't happen last night for some of us, but I think obviously diet. Mitch, we have the health beat every episode. Mitch will talk about his health tips this week, but consistency and look, everything in terms of self-care. I think it really has a strong correlation to like recovery and sobriety, and I can certainly speak on that. It's a daily reprieve, and it's there's support groups. There's learning about different boundaries and look, I can't sit here and be like, I don't. There's so many different things as a man, and again, I've mentioned this, relearning life. I got sober when I was 30. I'm 36 now, so I'm trying to do. I think we live, we learn, and perspective is absolutely huge, and that's a big reason why I've done this project. With you two, making time for relaxation. But like you said, Rube, 12, 14 hours of Netflix can be kind of probably detrimental to the team or sitting around with stinky ass all day. But I mean, you can jump in the shower.
How often do guys say things to themselves, like, or anybody, it doesn't matter, females, for example, you just call yourself, oh my God, just extra hard on yourself. You're just putting extra pressure on yourself. Just something didn't work out. How you see it. How do you perceive it? Can you see the glass half full or the glass half empty? I think just saying, making sure that you don't just pump a lot of negativity into your own mind.
Stay positive.
Stay positive.
It's more labor. It's harder to be negative. So just try to say, a guy said tonight, I think he had 40 years of recovery. He was saying something towards the end of it seemed like a 2-hour speech that he was giving. I don't know, he was in his 80s. He said, don't take life too seriously, and heard before, don't take life too seriously. Nobody makes it out alive anyway. But this guy had seen it all. He's done it all. He's a long time sober. Try to smile, try to stay positive.
I like that line. Don't take life too seriously. Nobody makes it out alive. I could put that on a T-shirt.
For real. And now that happened this evening, and the guy, correlates to what we're saying tonight. Don't take life too seriously. You got to put plans in action and so on and so forth. And obviously, there's, like I said, the physical side of things, the psychological side, the spiritual side. Our relationships. But again, for me, it's I'm sober. Now what do I do? I'm relearning life, which is interesting because I'm in my mid-30s, and hopefully I have a lot of life left, so I can achieve, being a better man, and that's something we try to work on day to day. Rube, what's your take, Mitch, on self-care? I mean, this is something that you do. I know you're from a physical standpoint. You take it seriously. Psychological standpoint, like what's your input there?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you hit on the key physical things, which is prioritizing sleep. I really cannot tell you. I would say that I know very few adults who sleep on a proper schedule. I mean, like, I look at my kids, they're in bed by 8, they sleep for 11 or 12 hours every night, and they're fresh as a daisy. They don't need caffeine, they don't need uppers and downers to get through the day. Their energy levels are balanced, their mood is relatively balanced, for a toddler and preteen respectively. So prioritizing sleep is a must. People just don't do it well. They don't go to bed early enough, they don't sleep restfully. There's just a lot of things around sleep that need addressing when it comes to self-care. In the physical and nutritional domain, to each his or her own. For me, what I found is, really being selective with food choices just has done nothing but benefit me, from the top to the bottom, from how I feel to how I perform to, how I'm aging, all that stuff. I can tie directly back to food choices that I'm making. And in the physical domain, I like to mix it up. You know, I like to be active. That's who I am. So I wouldn't feel much right without having it as like an integral thread in my life. As far as really the self-care though, like what I was hearing from both of you is like how the whole game of life really happens between the ears. You know, like your mindset, what you think is what you become, and what you become is what you behold. So like I definitely feel like the moment to moment talk, the conversation that you have with yourself about yourself, self-judgment, judging your actions and your thoughts, like that's really where you need to be careful not to be your own worst critic, but at the same time, don't discount your actions and hold yourself accountable. So like hold yourself to a high standard, but don't beat yourself up. That game of self-flagellation is probably the worst form of self-care. It's self-abuse. And so if you can focus on that as much as you would the physical domain, then you're on the right path.
Okay. Well, I would totally agree. I mean, I think right now we're just looking at how we can all get better. One of the ways that I think we can get better is just trying to think about, as fathers, how are we going to raise children that have empathy and have a certain appreciation for all the members of society. And that leads me to one of the areas that I really had a lot of, I wanted to talk about, and I've been talking to Justin about it a lot, is this idea of rape culture. A lot of people think rape culture is a myth, and I particularly do not. And because I think that many of the areas that we find that fall into our blind spots are actually areas that are pervasive and continuing to present a lot of harm in certain communities. And for women in general, I will not say rape culture is man against woman only, a man against a woman, or that women do not present that same opportunity to find themselves in positions where they could harass someone or even act out sexually in a certain violent way. But I definitely find that I'm in a locker room, Justin. I'm in a locker room, and I hear the mantra of boys will be boys a lot. And I wanted to get an idea from you, and I just wanted to talk to our audience and have an open discussion about what does the rape culture actually mean to you?
I think when we hear the word rape, therapist, the rapist.
Right.
It's when you hear that four-letter word, we associate it with a violent act, and I think when you wanted to talk about this, it's a lot deeper than that, because I think from what I gather, all of us contribute to the culture, and without even being mindful or realizing it. Whether it's a joke or body shaming, it's I would say it starts with respect, and that comes from us now, historically, and I think it goes culture to culture, and like you said, Rube, it's not all, most sexual violent acts are men against women. There are, we're seeing more and more and more. And it feels like times are changing, Rube. Where I'm hearing somebody was telling me the other day, kids are watching porn at 7, 8, 9 years old. I mean, it's a crazy world out there. But like a lot of things we say, it starts with us. And Easton's 5, Violet's 3. My 2 kids, they're constantly fighting. And I'm trying to tell him he's in a position where he's the big brother constantly, and it's got to start there, so he's not pushing her around. That doesn't transpire into when he is a teenager and when he's older. So it starts young. I don't have it's like I said, when you hear rape, you automatically think there's a violent act, somebody's being held against their will,
right,
and assaulted, but it's deeper rooted.
Right. Well, I was going to say that one of the things that I hear in my locker room a lot is that there's no rape that there is no rape culture. There's a thought that in the Western society that people are not actually promoting rape. We're not perpetuating it. People feel as though they're not actively advocating for a woman to be raped, and they don't actually contribute to it. And when you're listening to guys when there's no women around, it's easy to say that because the potential victim or how that person feels, they're not there to represent themselves. So I've heard in whether it's been in a locker room at a sports facility or in a locker room at work. And I thought, it was interesting that Trump used the words, it was locker room talk. And it was like, shit, it's not a locker room that I want to be in. Then I had to be honest with myself. And I said, some of the things that have been said in my locker room, it is one of the reasons why I have to speak up, is because the idea that no means yes and yes means anal. Like, that's an idea that people throw out there. And those are areas that's like, if you don't stop and think about the daughter that you have or the wife that you have and consider that these same guys will say, I will kill somebody, or I will fight you to the death if you hurt my sister or you hurt my mom or my wife. But they can treat a woman that isn't their family member like trash. They're afraid that these guys are afraid that somebody's encroaching on their right to be able to catcall a woman walking down the street. Because we are men, we balk at the idea that rape has been normalized. I definitely used to go to the Puerto Rican Day Parade. I know what part I played in it. I've gone down to Freaknik. Now, we can say that these women, oftentimes some of the women at these events were dressed provocatively, scantily clothed. And as men, what we say is that was an invitation for me to grab on their arm, grab their ass. Like, I know girls, I know women that have said that they can't recall a time that they've gone to a club and not had their ass grabbed, Yep. But guys don't think of that as sexual assault. What part do we play? And one of the most predatory things that I've watched guys do is go to a club, go to a bar or whatever, and primarily a club, and they post up towards the areas that they know women will pass through. For example, they'll post up angling towards the ladies' restroom or the restrooms, so they can kind of pick off women as they go in and out of the restroom and see if they can get that one-on-one time or to grab someone's arm. I don't understand why guys don't recognize that as an overtly violent sexual act. Like, touching someone without their permission should always be considered aggressive and unwarranted. I would say that that's one of the areas that as fathers we should be teaching our kids. But then what do we say just when, say, William, who's 15 now, he's looking at the movie Superbad, and the movie Superbad, which is hilarious, but there's a part of the movie where you do have to stop and say the two main characters, they've been sent out on this task of making sure that they had enough alcohol and weed to bring back to the party so that they could share with all the young women at the party, so that everybody can, with the goal of having sex. So how do we condition the young people in our society to act accordingly when we're sending them messages that say a 15-year-old girl or a 16-year-old girl, she's going to get ossified, and that's the easiest way to get to the drawers,
Well, it's being shoved down our throats like everything else between the media and that's a funny movie and that type of stuff sells. So, but it's a real problem. I mean, if you're not having a conversation about it and he sees the movie, but you've never had that conversation about it, then he might normalize that and think that that's okay. And I can completely relate to what you're saying about the club. And I have this conversation all the time with, attractive female, in a particular attractive female, and it's look, your personality's great, you're stunning, you have a body that you flaunt, yet it's like men are like snakes in the grass, and then it's like it's nibble, 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 bite, and then eventually it's like this progress. But there's got to be boundaries, and it's unfortunately we it's a scary thing. I mean, I didn't grow up like that where I was grabbing women, and I mean I've had my issues with women for certain. But there's never been any physical harm. I think I was certainly raised a lot better than that, but. It's something that we got to do better as men, and I will certainly tell Easton, look, you can't do that. And it definitely starts, every single weekend. It's
lessons to be learned. I thought it was dope when you just mentioned, quiet is kept. I mean, kids are watching porn early, so you're getting 10-year-olds and 8-year-olds watching porn. Yep. Porn doesn't feed your mind realistic relationship scenarios. Those scenarios that are put out there,
there's violence,
are violent. Women are portrayed as subhuman. Yep. I mean, it distorts what a real relationship should look like. So it puts your kid in a position that, or puts anybody. I mean, even men. If you sit there and you feed like truthfully, if you're expecting that type of relationship from a woman that you've watched in porn, mm-hmm. you're moving into an area where you're only going to treat someone as a subhuman. You're going to actually find that you're being too aggressive. You have no intimacy involved, because that's not what porn.
That's not what you're seeing.
That's not what you're seeing, and it's not. And very rarely is porn shown from a woman's point of view, or a sexual experience from a woman's point of view. It's always from a man's point of view. So. In there, and in the language, the whole language of how people are talked to, we take things and we use them in our everyday society. So the idea of being able to slut shame somebody, we don't have that empathy. I have a daughter too, and I don't, I've had serious argument with guys that tell me about, if a woman, if she wants to walk, because we have this free to nipple movement here. Every once in a while, you'll see there's a day that the women are just free to nips. They're not wearing any bras. They can take off their shirts, and if they want to expose, they can. And I've seen guys get all up in arms about it, and it just shows how much that men want to control a woman's body, Mm-hmm. And I feel oftentimes that men feel that they're entitled to determine what a woman is able to do. When we watch television, a man's nipples are never blurred out on television, but a woman's nipples are. So we start feeding our minds this difference in what's sexual and what isn't. A man can walk down the street with no shirt on. It means absolutely nothing. He's hot. That's what he wants to do. A woman takes her shirt off. It's a feeding frenzy, first of all. And then secondly, she's just a fucking slut. And how dare she? What is she doing? Even other women will get offended because we've been conditioned this way. Right. I also have a problem with watching how people, I had a friend of mine tell me, Reuben, I'm glad that, you're able to talk to me about this, but let me tell you here's an area where you may be, because we live in such a predatory state. I'm nervous when I get on the elevator with a man by himself. She said when she was on the elevator with just her and a guy, she gets a little nervous. She says she would prefer if the guy pressed the button to his floor first. And then she pressed her button, that he doesn't have to be she feels like it's unnecessary to do the gentleman thing, which is let the woman off the elevator first and then you come behind. Because she said, we already know that there's a lot of women when they get off the elevator first and now you got a strange guy behind you, he throws you in a chokehold. What can you do?
Yep. And you're in New York City. New
York City.
A lot of people, it's millions and millions of people. And back to the porn thing real quick, I can remember being younger, throwing it on Skinamax. You got
Right.
Shit used to be on HBO once in a while. I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna get to see a little something. Now they got pouring out. It's like a fucking MMA fight. So and so's got a Jason's mask on. He's got the baseball bat. You know,
Right.
the mascara's running. You know, they're chasing each other around the room like, you know, wild hyenas. And you're watching this, and people, and you put a kid and he watches that, he's going to somewhat know, well, that's the way it is. Well, no, that's not the way it is. I mean, these
Right.
people, there's got to be some sort of, like you said, it's an illusion. Like, this is not romance. This is WrestleMania mixed with porn, you know, which I don't find erotic at all. I mean, like,
Right. But there's somebody that does, right? You know, there are people out there that do. It's just that, do you take your fetish or you take your particular appetite, and, you know, are there boundaries? Should we continue to kind of talk to our boys about how to deeply care about women? Are we making sure that our boys are good human beings that respect themselves? And not only do they respect themselves, make sure that they respect other people's space and boundaries. And, you know, if there's one thing I want to also say is, you know, it is serious when you watch high profile individuals who are drugging women, who are, you know, taking advantage of women, you know, all of those areas. It just lets you know how serious this issue is. And I know a lot of guys say that, hey, you know, here it is, here we go again. You know, it's another made up, fabricated social norm that where men can't be men anymore. And I hear guys say this, and it's depressing. It's scary. I feel sorry for these dudes. Sometimes I'm just mad. I want to just punch them in the face. I don't want to hear guys with this pity party about I can't be a man anymore. You know, they're making it so hard for straight men to be men, or it's making it so hard for a man to be a man. Like, I hope we can get past that. I hope that, you know, in the near future that men will start taking responsibility and having these conversations. And I know I'm having them with my boys. So, and my daughter as well. So, you know, I just would encourage others to do the same. It starts at home, and let's once again, let's try to create a better society. Let's be our best selves. We shouldn't be rolling society back.
Well, we have touched on porn, and we're going to go into,
which is a constant. We find our way to porn often on this show.
And porn is great, you know, in moderation. Porn is, I you know, have indulged over my, you know, occasionally, maybe once a year. But Tiger Woods has won the Masters. And Tiger Woods found himself in a ton of trouble a couple years ago with porn stars. He had some type of fetish, even though
ding porn.
He had the world by the balls. Beautiful wife, the family. And let me say this about Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods, okay, is Michael Jordan-esque. I have never seen anything in my life like Michael Jordan. I've never seen anything in my life like Tiger Woods. He brought fitness to the game of golf. He brought unbelievable ratings to the game of golf. One of my favorite things to do is watch Tiger Woods on Sunday in a red shirt, Sunday red. He won the Masters last week, Rube. In fact, I talked to a DFS guy within the fantasy community who won $1 million a couple years ago. And he said, Tiger Woods is my number one play this week. A lot of confidence. The guy put up 85K, won a couple million. That was a weird story. But
yeah, 1.2 million.
He's a bullshit artist. They dug up his rap sheet. He's got hella like domestic arrest and stuff like that, which I think is bullshit. But, you know, who gives a shit, right? We're talking about Tiger Woods tonight. It's a nice, I got a good feel. Like watching Tiger Sunday, it was a beautiful thing. Because now we're going back 10, 12 years. And we saw, Rube, Tiger Woods that we saw over a decade ago. And it's a beautiful thing. He's, I think, single-handedly, LeBron James-esque, revitalize the game of sport, the game of golf. And it was a beautiful thing to watch. And going to Augusta, putting on another green coat, his back seems fine. He was chewing gum. He was composed on every hole. Looked like Tiger Woods. I mean, he took his hat off and they had a little, you know, a little bit of like, you know, a little five head going on, but that's age. He's got to act accordingly like the rest of us. What is your take on Tiger Woods being back? I think it's a beautiful thing all in all.
Well, I think Tiger As you just said, he had a historic run this weekend. Tiger is the one athlete that is bigger than the sport he plays. He is an incredible draw. People, I mean, my mom was like, "Oh my God, Tiger!" She called me to say, "Hey, did you see Tiger?" I was out and people were at the lacrosse games and they were sling boxing it, and I heard some people honk their horns. Tiger won, and he's just an unbelievable figure in the game of golf, and he's bigger than life when it comes down to sports in general. And this now puts him back in a conversation with Nicholas. This puts us back on that page, that conversation.
Absolutely.
But for me, I am confused by all of the black love that Tiger gets. I do not feel any connection with Eldrick at all. Eldrick, I do not understand. I think he's, the Tiger Red. I get it. I know he's had some ups, some downs. His back fusion, the fact that he's out there playing with a fused back probably is like a medical miracle, since the guy couldn't walk. He could barely walk. But as far as Tiger, for me, this silent Bob ass motherfucker, I am not a fan of his. I really do look at him as a dude that has such an opportunity, being a black man, being a person of color, to have more of an impact, to be able to speak out against injustice. He hasn't made one hard comment on race relations in the United States outside of being Caucasian. I am disappointed that the black community, which we always find, this goes back to something we were talking about before, which is that people love a hero. Tiger won the Masters, and black people say they won. It's one of those situations like, we won. It's like, we won. Tiger won. Tiger is clear about who he is. Trump is clear about who Tiger is. Once again, if you are endorsed by the KKK, and the KKK can look upon you as a favorable candidate and say, Trump is my guy, and Trump can look favorably on Tiger Woods and say, Tiger Woods is my guy, you cannot be my guy. Black people, I hope you are listening. I hope you are not looking for the master that Tiger has found. And that is my full...
So you don't like him? You don't think it's good for them?
I think he's an amazing athlete. I love it, but he's not my guy.
You think he's a poser?
Like athlete of the decade? I think it's amazing. He came back. I think he came back from the fused back. I think he got over his kryptonite, which appeared to be some women that came from different places in his life, that he was able to say, you know what, he, indiscretions and family life, and people were excited, like, oh, hey, Tiger's kids got to see him and everything. I mean, there was just this embrace and there's this love, and I just know that people, that you can get swept up into this whole media frenzy that is Tiger. I mean, he's been a phenomenon in our culture. But when it comes down to it, man, I gotta look at people like and say, hey, where do you stand when you see what's going on out here in the world, and you don't have a stance and you don't have a voice, and you got the greatest platform? You're bigger than golf. Mm-hmm. You're bigger than golf. Mm-hmm. They come knocking on your door. You can call shots. Tell me in which way. I'm not asking you to do, once again, I'm not asking Tiger to destroy racism. I'm just asking him for all of the Nike shirts that he sold, and all of the guys that look up to Tiger, and they go out there and they put on the red and they wear the TW gear. Mm-hmm. Speak to those individuals. Talk to them. Use your platform.
Don't think he does enough, so you don't think he does enough for the...
I can't. I don't got one sound bite in my head where I can say, damn, Tiger was that guy today. He was able to come out and say something that made me say he understands he's explaining what it means to be black in America. He's
cultured.
Yeah, because all of this idea of people don't see color, you got to be kidding me. You know, we live in a country that makes you check boxes all the time. You have to check a box for your census. You have to check a box when you're going for job applications. You have to check a box when you, depending on, you know, sometimes this is optional, but whether your voter registration, your driver's license, we live in a country that they're constantly asking you about your race. But yet and still, nobody wants to talk about it.
Look at LeBron James with Trump. I mean, he hates Donald Trump, and that shit just goes by the wayside. Who's a bigger athlete than LeBron James? It's like LeBron James does not like Donald Trump.
The bigger athlete is Tiger Woods. The bigger athlete is Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods is bigger than his sport. Yeah, he brings ratings to his sport that no one else can bring. He brings eyes and viewership that have nothing. They do not care about golf at all. They only care about whether or not Tiger is being successful or he's failing. One or the other. They want to either see him succeed or they want to see him fucking train wreck. Either way, you're getting viewership eyes that you would not get if he wasn't in the tournament. If LeBron wasn't there, you would still get people to watch the sport of basketball. When he checks out, there'll be another. There's not another Tiger, and that's when you're supposed to capitalize.
His dad, he was pretty close with his dad, right? He was very black, so you think?
I don't know. Listen, one of my guys at work said, "Hey, did you see that clip of Tiger when he was about 13? He said he was going to go in there. He wanted to win the Masters because he knew how black people had been treated in the game of golf. And the first thing he said, that was woke Tiger." That was when he was 13. If you're telling me you were more woke than when you at 13 than you are at 38 years old or 40 years old, then you got a problem. But I do know black people, oftentimes when we get in these spaces, we do show a lot of teeth. We do get, you know, we do the jazz hands. We get happy. We do a lot of shuffling, a little shuck and jive, and you know.
But let me ask you this before we go on to the health beat. So I would agree with you that the guy's got the biggest platform in a predominantly white sport. And, you know, Augusta National was known for racism down in Georgia. I don't think women could play there for a while. It's not. So he does have the platform, but do you think it's bigger than him? Do you think, you know, because I try to critically think about it, and you and I can agree that everything's bullshit, but you think that he's afraid? People, Tiger, you better not go up there and start talking about the race thing, or you better not, you know, keep your mouth closed, keep this business. And we've talked before. You said there's been blacks that have been hella hesitant to open their mouths, to, you know, bring shit to the forefront because they're afraid of retribution or retaliation. I mean, is it bigger? You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, I don't think.
Or you think?
I don't know if I don't. I can't say if I think he's scared. I just don't know if it's good business, and it may just not be it may not be a part of his value system anymore. It may not. He may have gotten to a point of wealth and prestige, and that he can't. He's so far removed from it.
Right.
And that he doesn't see it in that same way. He doesn't relate. He doesn't connect. Maybe he's doing things behind the scenes, and therefore, you know, I don't want to screw up the money. I don't want to. I'd rather do it behind scenes. You know, he also has. You have to remember, he grew up under the Michael Jordan era.
That's true.
He grew up under the and Michael Jordan grew up under the O.J. Simpson era, which is, you know, you get in, you do the advertising, you do the sponsorships, you become the big name, you go into rooms, and you know how to maintain. You want to safeguard what you have, and you want to build on what you have. And these guys, I think Tiger Woods went to the school of Michael Jordan, PR, Nike PR camp.
Sure.
And he learned, and that's who he decided to probably kind of somewhat model. You know, Michael Jordan was the biggest thing on the planet as well in sports. And, you know, if one of your heroes is Michael Jordan and he didn't say much, and you grew up during the same era, what would kind of what would propel you to move forward and do something different other than the great Michael Jordan? So all I know is I didn't understand why the black community was going crazy. Like they were going crazy on Twitter. The internet was buzzing about Tiger, and I was like, I get it because I saw how quickly Trump backed him. I was like, I get it for that side of the aisle, but I don't really get it. From
if Tiger Woods had your personality, and I mean, you are about as pro-black as you can get, and I have a vast appreciation for what you stand for. Believe me, if Tiger Woods had your personality and your outlook in regards to the black community and change in the way things go, you would almost believe. I mean, you have like some Malcolm X in you. I mean, you're passionate. You got some Martin Luther King, and you got a whole bunch of shades in you. What happens if Nike promotes a guy with Tiger Woods has Reuben Stanford's personality and gets up in front of the microphone in front of millions and millions and millions of people and starts, trying to educate.
The Nike machine would have put together some faces and some brilliant minds to capitalize on it because the dollars would have made sense. He was still his talent is too big to ignore.
Yes.
It goes to something that I think about with the, and I want to talk about this on another show, but I'll drop a little bit of it now, which is if the 5-star, 4-star athletes opted not to go to Alabama, if they opted not to go to Florida State, if they said, I'm not going to go play for LSU, I'm going to go play for Howard football team, I'm going to go play for Morgan State, if I'm going to go play for Morehouse, Tuskegee, North Carolina A&T, the cameras would follow. The cameras would follow those gentlemen. They are the game. It's not the coaches. The coaches are getting the huge contracts, but the athletes, if Zion Williamson decided to go, watching him as the phenomenon that he was, if more athletes like Zion Williamson, I believe if they decided to go to black universities, HBCUs, the cameras would follow. One of the main reasons that let me know that could be possible is that ESPN went and televised LeBron James high school games in Akron, Ohio.
Yep, that's true.
In Akron, Ohio. It wasn't, he wasn't connected to Coach K. He didn't need the platform of Kentucky with Coach Calipari. He didn't need the big names. He didn't need the big 50,000 seat Carrier Dome, Jim Boeheim. No, he was in Little Akron. He played.
He was a man amongst boys. He was, and
the cameras came. So, would Nike have backed Tiger if Tiger had knowledge of self and spoke about it in a way where he was promoting unity? He was also highlighting and saying, hey, here's the plight of the several. There's the plight of the indigenous person in this country. There's a plight of the African American in this country. The plight of the Latinos in this country. If that individual, and he's also Asian, he wants to speak about his Asian heritage. If he just spoke about people of color and what it meant to be someone other, to be other in this country, Nike would have been able to put together a platform. Now, what he also should have been able to do is the beautiful thing that Beyonce did, which is said, hey, I'm so powerful. If you don't have people of color on this staff or in this meeting room with me when you come sit to talk to me about business, then we have no business to discuss.
So
and that's how you get. That's how you use your power, and that's how you use your leverage.
I like this segment quite a bit. So real quick before we go to the health beat, I know we're dragging Mitch, and I want you to talk about the health beat. But who would you say today is the biggest voice for the African American community? If it's not Tiger Woods, it doesn't get bigger than him.
But in sports or just in general? I mean, there's a lot of soldiers out there. I mean, we have from Killer Mike. Hopefully one day we can get Killer Mike on the show. David Banner, Sean King,
You mentioned, we were talking about Sean King the other day. But
Yeah,
from an athlete standpoint, though, Rube,
athletes. LeBron is amazing in the work that he does and how he's out there speaking.
Schools.
Yeah, I respect those guys. I respect just the ability to be conscious and talk about it from a point of view where they have not removed themselves from being just an average guy. Jay-Z, the amount of work that he's doing with the prison reform and also being able to bring attention to Khalif Browder and talk about what's going on in the community. Also see the impact that Nipsey Hussle had in his community and the outpour of support and love for what he was doing. You have my son in general. You have a lot of grassroots. You got a lot of street soldiers, and you have a lot of people that have power and influence that are doing amazing work. The fact that Kevin Hart, Oprah Winfrey have their studios and employ people of color and able to then build networks and build power structures and strength within just job opportunities. Those are amazing ways that change can happen, and you just want representation. I mean, diversity is something that we all need. Most people think that being segregated is a powerful thing. I actually disagree, and I do not advocate that Black people should just be waiting for the day that hopefully that they can take over to kick white people in the ass. I do not believe that Black people should be moving around thinking that, this is our opportunity to be the oppressor if the tables turn. Now, do white people deserve to get kicked in the ass for the shit, the years of 400 years of slavery plus and civil rights discrimination and things like that? Sure. But that shouldn't be the motivation and the angle for people to move forward. We should be trying to become better people. We should be trying to be better human beings and eliminate this feeling of dehumanizing other individuals based on skin color, because it's ridiculous, and hair texture and things like that.
What was we got a lot of shit to talk about. What was the first question I asked you?
First question out the box, hey, Reuben, are you Black? And I was like, yeah, I'm Black, I'm Black.
And I said, dude, you're hired. Mitch?
Yeah, I mean, we just have to, the two of us, we sat down and we said, hey, this is a project that we both want to work on. And what's the best part about it for me is that talking to you, we can share ideas. I know Black guys that are far smarter than me, and we have discussions all the time. And they know that without the taking the steps and moving forward, that it's going to be an uphill battle. But it's also good that, in my opinion, every Black person doesn't agree with this either. In my opinion, it's good to have to know that white people have the ability to have compassion, and that they are taking anti-racism courses, or they are spending time with people of color, or and learning more, and not acting as though they know everything, or not playing the role of savior. So this has been, for me, like an opportunity to be able to share that message, because it's all about healing. It's all about moving forward. It's all about getting better.
Your voice needs to be heard, and you have a platform. Mitch,
what you got, Mitch?
What is the health beat this week, sir?
Indeed. Whether it was the miracles of modern medicine, superhuman strength and healing, or adamantium in his veins, who knows what enabled Tiger Woods to strengthen his core to the point of being able to win the Masters again. One thing it definitely was not was a waist trainer for men. I don't care what walk of life you come from. A neoprene elastic band around your belly isn't going to get you in shape. It just doesn't happen. The best part about these things is that the advertisements are all chiseled hulks, he-men walking the earth with these things on, as if that's what got them to have a 30-inch waist, an 8-pack, and giant pecs. It's just not reality. And so Reuben came to me and said, my boys are asking me, what's up with this waist trainer? They claim it'll make you sweat more and somehow burn more fat and calories in the process. Guys, it's just not how it works. Furthermore, any sort of pseudo cummerbund that's faking core strength is just taking away from the whole point of exercise. Don't do it. It's a waste of money, and quite honestly, Spanx for men is just not a good look.
Damn. So you mean to tell me when I'm giving out my advice, like when I see the belly busters on the guys, and I'm like, yo, just throw some throw a little Tiger Balm in there. That'll help burn some of that fat. Throw a little preparation H in between there. You know,
Man, I see dudes rubbing icy hot and then wrapping themselves in the saran wrap and jumping in the sauna. That's a good way to get yourself a heat stroke. Man, there's nothing scientific about that.
Well, damn. I don't know what to say, Mitch. You debunk one of the greatest mysteries on how guys can get rid of that gut.
Mythbusters.
So Mythbusters. So now I guess we're gonna have to go back to the drawing board. So all my guys out there that's wearing the belly buster, if you got your waist trainer, your trim fit, all that stuff, none of that stuff works. My man Mitch, you heard it here first on the Health Beat.
And gentlemen, Mitch, where can we be found? I know we're on iHeartRadio, we're on Spotify, we're on Google Play, we're on Libsyn, we are on iTunes, we are on X Podcast X. I mean, they got all these Mickey Mouse. There's hella platforms, and we can be found everywhere. And it's just, there's going to be T-shirts coming out. We have a sponsorship from DraftKings, so we're going to be implementing a sports section into the podcast. I think we're aiming for football season, so we'll have a football segment. You know, I treat this show, and I tell Rube all the time, it's like a meal or a buffet. You know, you can come, pick and choose what you like. We're going to touch on everything. There's an ocean of topics that we wanted to discuss to try to touch hearts. Not everybody's going to love us. Not everybody's going to hate us, but, they're going to know us. And we all the three of us seek to have that done, and we're doing it week by week and show by show, and consistency is paramount to us. So we appreciate everybody listening.
Yo, good looking on the Power Hour.